There is nothing else that makes me feel like a complete fool than when I scroll through my game library on my PlayStation and see the gold edition of Test Drive Unlimited Solo Crown, because it makes me realize that I got played out of $100 and I cannot get it back at all. When the game first got announced, I was beyond hyped, especially since nothing else was really booming at the time for the racing game genre. And from what people were saying, it seemed like that game was a Sims 4 type of thing with cars and mansions, a more realistic GTA, if you could call it that. I never played the original Test Drive games, so this was my first introduction to the series, and boy did it disappoint me in ways I didn't even know was possible. As soon as the game was available for pre-order, I dropped the shekels on it, and back then I was stoked about it. The devs made the game sound groundbreaking. People were hyping it up, all the normal things that happen before a game comes out. Now, for all of you guys asking why I bought the most expensive edition, I am a content creator, right? And my idea was to make content on this game. The gold edition gave you everything for both the smaller editions and some other stuff, but what really caught my attention was the early access that you got for spending triple digits on the pre-order. Spoiler alert, I had yet to make a single video about this game until right now, so that entire reasoning for spending that amount of money was complete cope, and I admit to that finally. Skip a few arcs and the game drops early for me. Cool, right? No, not cool. Let's first start at the main screen where you create your character, which I was stuck at for a solid 45 minutes because the game was completely broken on launch. What made it worse is that I was live streaming the early access for the game, so my viewers and I were just sitting on a screen that was given an error message over and over again. It got so bad that I had to go on the Reddit on the day of release to try and find a trick to actually play the game I paid for. It has always been an amazement to me that a game can be broken on the one day it's supposed to be working at its best. First impressions are lasting impressions, and Test Drive burnt the food. In fact, it burnt down the whole neighborhood because it was nothing short of embarrassing what happened on that day. Skip another hour or so and we finally get into the intro cutscene with a character that I guess is supposed to be who introduces us to the game and all that sort of stuff. Apparently all the characters in the game are voiced by AI. I didn't care enough back then because I was just happy to be able to play the game, but now that I'm looking back at it, that's wicked work. To this day, I am still not sure that the AI voices have actually been confirmed, so we're gonna move on. But if they are AI voices and we're paying over $100 for this game, that is ridiculous. I think I knew this game had cheated me when my character arrived on a spaceship to the hotel in a racing game. Up to that point, I had been given a Lamborghini to drive in for a little while, which handled pretty bad, but that hadn't convinced me that I had been scammed. If you were to see the cutscene of your character arriving at the hotel and nothing else including the title of the game or cover art, I promise you would not know that it was a racing game. People had told me that in the previous Test Drive games, you were able to buy houses and big mansions and all of that noise. In this game, you apparently could not, and that you would be staying in a huge lifeless hotel. Apparently the houses would be added later, which they still have not been added on the making of this video, which is 21 April 2025. The game dropped in September of last year for reference. A lot of false promises were made for this game from the dev team and what would be in the game on release. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't like being lied to. I think adding the hotel was one of the biggest mistakes they could have made for this game, considering what people who played the older games were used to and the fact that it didn't fit the aesthetic of the game at all. When people collect cars, race with them, and live that lifestyle, the first thing you are going to think is they have a big house with a big garage that has a bunch of nice cars in it. Not that they live in an empty and dead hotel room. When you're actually walking around the hotel and even outside of it, it just looks completely out of place, and in my opinion, ruins the vibe of the entire game. I get that they're going for a rich sort of vibe, but that's what the mansions are for. It's like the game tries to be this lifestyle simulator while also trying to be an MMO, while also trying to be a racing game, and it fails at every single one of those things, which may be the reason why it's rated 2 stars on the PlayStation Store and a 36% on the Steam Store. There are only 8 players in this huge open world racing game, which is comically bad. The lifestyle part of this game isn't even complete yet, and the racing on the game starts to be subpar at best, like it was an afterthought. Almost like the devs made everything else and then remembered 2 days before release that it's supposed to actually have racing in it. There is no soul, there is no real passion. Everything feels very generic. It could not keep me engaged past an hour. and even now can't keep me on the game past 5 minutes. I kid you not, I logged into this game to get some gameplay and went straight to No Man's Sky after loading into the hotel. Another way of describing the game is like they randomly thought to make a sequel to the previous game in August 2024, and then set a timeline of release to be in September of the same year. The game looks terrible for a 2024 video game on the PS5. And if you told me that this game was a port over from the PS4, I would 100% believe you. There are times when the game looks a little bit better than usual, but those are rare, and it looks like that when everything outside is dark and wet. But truthfully, I wouldn't even call that looking good genuinely, because everything looks good dark and wet. Look at Need for Speed 2015, or look up GTA 5 4K videos on YouTube, and you'll notice how they try to upscale everything by putting puddles on the road and darkening the atmosphere. You put Forza Horizon 5, Crew Motorfest, or even Need for Speed Unbound next to Test Drive, and you'll have a heart attack. I know I almost did live on stream when I saw how bad this game looked and felt with $100 missing from my bank account. I'm all for a game having a lot of features and things like that, but Test Drive kind of just has the worst of both worlds, where they have a lot of stuff, but it's also a lot of nothing that a lot of people don't really care about, so it doesn't really matter. For example, if we go back to the hotel thing, you can customize it and do a whole bunch of stuff in the hotel, but who really cares about that? The game has a lot of events, I would say, but it's a bunch of nothingness with a grind that even the most dedicated fans of the game don't even want to do. I cannot stand when a game is more of a job than a game to actually play through, and I did not spend $100 to have a second career grinding virtual currency to purchase virtual cars. I feel like the time you have to spend to get the money to rank up properly in order to even attempt at getting the cars you actually want is beyond what a normal person wants to spend after coming back from school or work. The progression is a complete mess, including both the campaign, if you want to call it that, and the battle pass / season pass thing they keep adding to these games for no reason. And trust me, I'm not new to this stuff, and I know that these games that rely heavily on content drops like to jack up the economy so that you spend hours and hours grinding to achieve simple things. It still sucks though. The game has AI racers, which is good because you don't need to have another actual player to join you in a race to start it like Need for Speed Unbound, but the AI suck. Both the ones that are actually in the races and the ones that are actually in the open world. Also, the open world seems completely dead. I don't know how that's possible with a bunch of traffic cars everywhere, but somehow they made it work in Test Drive Unlimited. At this point in time, the game is not fun to play, and I find myself in this weird loop where I'll download it to give it a try and play it, then realize it's still boring and delete the game. After about 5 minutes, maybe 10 if you're lucky, you either get frustrated or extremely bored, and then that's it. That's the Test Drive Unlimited experience. To this day, I still cannot believe that I spent $100 on pretty much what people describe as an alpha test for a video game. Not even a beta test. Let this be a lesson to all of y'all that be pre-ordering games. Don't do it. 90% of the time, the stuff that you get is not worth it, and you're wasting your hard-earned money. This game was made in 2024, and it feels like it's still in early access. I didn't even talk about how there was a rumor going around that turned out to be true that the game was running on an old build for the testing. If you all want more content regarding this game, then I'm happy to make it for you, but for now, I wanted to share my experience on the time I got duped for this masterpiece of a racing video game. If you enjoyed, make sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.